Well, certainly no foghorns around here, as you just heard. It's another beautiful mid-July evening. Sean Maclean listening with you here at listener-supported Classical King 98.1. It is Northwest Focus Live, the hour we spend every week with music in real time. Just a slight delay so that our microphones encode to your radios and your streaming devices all at the same time, with a focus on local talent. Now, with artists who've come over from Italy, that's not exactly local, is it? Except that these artists have moved here to make music in this part of the world. So we'll be meeting some musicians who came over with their families to teach and perform music here. I'll start with our guest, Lorenzo Marasso, the pianist you've heard of before on this show, whom we've had some great evenings with, who created the Seattle Chamber Orchestra, who will be welcoming recent arrivals in the United States, the baritone Mauro Bonfanti and Maria Nan, his wife. Mauro is a baritone and teacher who's sung in 12 countries around the world, and one of the last students of, get ready for this, Luciano Pavarotti. And he's sung with artists like Andrea Bocelli and Renato Bruzon and many others. He's sung all over Italy, including in the Vatican, at Shanghai Opera House, and many other places. He is the president and founder of an opera competition near Milan, which is in its 6th year. He's got recordings all over Spotify and Amazon and Apple Music and all those streaming platforms. In December, Mauro moved his family to Bellevue on a very special, cool visa we'll be talking about when we meet Mauro and his wife, who is Maria Nan Bonfanti. We'll start with the sound of our pianist Lorenzo Marasso with Mauro Bonfanti and a beautiful trio of songs about some meteorological conditions that exist around here with snow and mist and fog. But Ottorino Respighi, who wrote these songs, of course, is drawing our minds and hearts to more than just the metaphor. We'll be hearing Nevicata, Nebbie, and Pioggia, with Respighi's music sung by Mauro Bonfanti and pianist Lorenzo Marasso on Northwest Focus Live.
Volteggiando la neve cade, danza la faida bianca nell'ampio ciel scherzoso, poi sul terren si posa sui tetti e sui camini, sui cippi e nei giardini dorme. Tutto d'intorno è pace, chiuso in oblio profondo, indifferente il mondo tace, ma nella calma immensa torna ai ricordi il cuore, e ad un sopito amore soffro lontan lontano, le nebbie sonnolente salgono, poi tacente pian così crudi, gli addolorati tronchi offron pregando i bronchi nudi. Come a freddo son sola pel grigio ciel sospinto un gemito d'estinto vola. Mi ripete, vieni e buia la vallata, o triste o disamata, vieni, piovea per le finestre spalancate a quella tregua di ostinati ardori. Saliano dal giardin fresche folate d'erbe risorte ed irrisorti fiori. S'achetava il tumulto dei colori sotto il vel delle gocciole implorate. E intorno ai pioppi, ai frassini, agli allori beveano ingorde le zolle assetate. Esser pianta, esser foglia, esser stelo, e nell'angoscia dell'ardor pensavo. Così largo ristoro aver dal cielo sui davanzali protesa, io gli arboscelli, fiori, l'erbe guardavo, e mi batte la pioggia sui capelli.
All three of those songs that we just heard by Ottorino Respighi pertain to the kinds of precipitation we get around here in the form of mist or snow or rain. Three in a row from the Italian composer who was not going to do what was most popular in his day, which was write big-boned opera. He was much more interested in the music that came before him and in the intimate songs, the likes of which we just heard, sung by Mauro Bonfanti, the baritone, and Lorenzo Marasso, the pianist, back on Northwest Focus Live. So what we get to do is to meet a whole family who moved here from Italy. First of all, welcome to Northwest Focus Live, Mauro Bonfanti. What a pleasure to hear you.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
It's my pleasure. I'm very excited.
I love that you opened with Respighi, who's a composer. He's a bit like Ravel. Just when you think you've heard everything he can do, he surprises you again.
Yeah.
There's more range there than we often think of from the Pines of Rome and the more famous pieces like that, right? I think it's pertinent to mention that he was in love with a mezzo-soprano and was writing a lot for voice, wasn't he?
Yeah, because the wife was a mezzo-soprano and composer.
And you have a wife who's a soprano.
Yeah, I'm lucky.
The first question people might want to know is, with all the the love of Italian song in Italy, where you were educated and where you performed, Why did you come to the Pacific Northwest of the United States?
I really don't know. Probably God, because I believe in God, so I guess no. Anyway, I received a lot of opportunities here to work in different academies, private academies, and concerto and so on, performances here. So I'm very happy to be here. I love to be here. I love American style.
Okay, and you've only been here 6 months, but have you had a chance to discover a bit of the nature, the natural surroundings and
beautiful,
the beauty?
stunning. Yes, and we moved here at the end of December. Yeah.
As somebody who appreciates a good cappuccino, and I know you do, we're not doing too badly in this city compared to other American cities.
No, but I love to cook, of course.
I think Lorenzo does too. So I think
Lorenzo also, and Lorenzo know my quality of cooking.
Yes, Lorenzo Marasso. First of all, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much, Sean.
Yeah,
it's great to be here.
How did you find out about Mauro arriving here?
Well, it was actually through a mutual friend, an Italian person, Giovanni Severini. If he's listening, he's going to be happy.
Okay.
He made a connection, and he said, "There's this family. We are both musicians. I think you should meet up." And then we did, and we actually find out that we come from a close, region from both Lombardia, but on the edge with Piemonte, which is where I grew up. So we do relate to each other very well. And so we started a good collaboration also with the Seattle Chamber Orchestra next year.
Okay, so this is where I mentioned that you founded this Seattle Chamber Orchestra. You've had a great first season, and Mauro is going to be performing as well as wife, Maria Nan, for several concerts that are coming up on your schedule, including you're going to have I would almost call it a Stabat Mater off with Pergolesi, among other things. Tell us a bit about this first concert that's going to be Seattle Chamber Orchestra's.
Well, the season will actually open on the 6th of October with a chamber music concert with The Trout by Schubert.
Wonderful.
Because we like to combine chamber music and chamber orchestra music. And then the second concert will be with the Stabat Mater. That will be November 17, the Pergolesi, which is probably the most famous
of the Stabat
paired
Maters.
with a contemporary Stabat Mater written by Tyler Futrell, who is a Norwegian Californian composer. I believe he was born in California, and he relocated to Norway, and he wrote this strugglingly beautiful piece that it's full of emotions, and we are going to be doing the U.S. premiere of this piece.
Fantastic.
And then in January, we'll do Winterreise with Mauro and myself. And then we'll go in February, we'll do a program centered around the idea of farewell, including Haydn's Farewell Symphony and other music related to that topic. And ending the season with Verklärte Nacht by Schoenberg and a new commission by Jack Van Zande, who is a Californian composer who's writing a piece for the orchestra. You're
going for the deeply spiritual stuff this coming season.
Oh, my goodness. Is it just me?
The Schubert Winterreise by itself is going to be quite a winter's journey.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I guess we make music that moves us, and so that's what we hope that will also move the audience that comes to our concerts.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to be hearing more about the season, but just one more word with Mauro. Mauro, how did you meet your wife, Maria Nan?
Of course, during a concert in Pesaro in Italy. And then we are here with 2 children. And
you really made, it's a huge commitment to move your family across the country.
Not easy.
Before we hear your wife, I should mention, though, that you did get something that made moving here a little bit easier and with more of a stamp of approval, which is this rare thing called an O1 visa. So if you're listening and you don't know what this is, maybe Mauro, you can tell us.
It's, for me, it's a great honor to receive from the U.S. government this visa for extraordinary abilities in artists. So I'm very happy.
The competition is fierce.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very huge.
Well, congratulations.
Thanks a lot, and thanks to you.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to be here.
Well, we're glad to hear you. And now that we've heard your baritone voice, it's time for the sound of a soprano voice from your wife, who is Maria Nan Bonfanti. Maria is going to be singing just one movement of the piece that we're going to be hearing with Seattle Chamber Orchestra. It is that deeply lamenting piece that is a setting of the text that many composers have taken on about Mary at the foot of the cross, observing the suffering of her son, the Christ. Stabat Mater, the mother stood. And this is one of the many movements that simply focuses on the pain that we're going to be hearing from Pergolesi's setting, as Lorenzo said, one of the more famous settings in the history of music. She saw her tender child hang in desolation till his spirit was sent forth, the Vidit Suum dulcem natum. In the Latin language, this music of Giovanni Battista Pergolesi, Vidit Suum, will be sung by Maria Nan Bonfanti with once again Lorenzo Marasso at the piano. In order to have the necessary contrast between the dark and the light tonight, we just went to the dark spot of a suffering mother, the Stabat Mater, with Mother Mary at the foot of the cross observing her son's suffering, the Vidit Suum from Giovanni Battista Pergolesi's Stabat Mater, with the sound of soprano Maria Nan Bonfanti and pianist Lorenzo Marasso, who for this whole hour tonight will be accompanying this couple who have moved to Bellevue with their children from Italy. And we have been hearing the sound of husband and wife, and we will hear them together at the end of this triple set of Mozart that finishes with a moment from Don Giovanni when Zerlina and Don Giovanni are trying to fight each other off, and a seduction is finally thwarted. But we'll hear Maria Nan one more time for Ridente la calma, and then Mauro will jump up for another Mozart, and they will come together for Laci darem la mano, as we hear husband and wife, the Bonfantis, with pianist Lorenzo Marasso for this triple set of Mozart now on Northwest Focus Live.
Hai già vinta la causa? Cosa sento? in qual laccio io cadea. Perfidi, io voglio di tal modo punirvi, a piacer mio la sentenza sarà. Ma se pagasse la vecchia pretendente, pagarla in qual maniera? E poi Antonio, che a un incognito Figaro ricusa di dare una nipote in matrimonio. Coltivando l'orgoglio di questo mentecatto, tutto giova un raggiro. Il colpo è fatto. Vedrò mentr'io sospiro, felice un servo mio. È un ben che in van desio ei posseder dovrà. Vedrò per man d'amore unita un vile oggetto, in me desta un affetto che per me poi non ha, che per me poi non ha. Vedrò mentr'io sospiro, felice un servo mio, e un ben che in van io desio ei posseder dovrà. Vedrò per man d'amore unita un vile oggetto, in me desta un affetto che per me poi non ha, che per me poi non ha. Vedrò, 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 vedrò. A non lasciarti in pace non vo' questo contento. Tu non nascesti audace, tu non nascesti audace per dare a me tormento, e forse ancor per ridere di mia infelicità. Già la speranza sola delle vendette mie quest'anima consola, e giubilar mi fa, e giubilar mi fa. Oh, lasciarti in pace non vo' questo contento. Tu non nascesti audace per dare a me tormento, e forse ancor per ridere di mia infelicità. Già la speranza sola delle vendette mie quest'anima consola, e giubilar mi fa, e giubilar mi fa, e giubilar mi fa, e giubilar mi fa, e giubilar mi fa.
Felice
Vieni, mio bel diletto,
mi fa
io cangerò tua sorte.
Esso non son più forte, non son più forte, non son più forte.
Vieni, ci darem la mano.
Vorrei che non vorrei.
Lo mi dirai di sì.
Mi tremo un poco il cor.
Partiam ben mio da qui. Vieni, mio bel diletto, io cangerò tua sorte.
Non son più forte, non son più forte, non son più forte.
Andiamo, andiamo. Andiamo, andiamo, mio bene, a ristorar le pene, con innocente amor. Andiamo, andiamo, mio bene, a ristorar le pene, con innocente amor. Andiamo.
It's this thing that keeps happening with Don Giovanni. As soon as the husband leaves the room, he makes a play at the wife, and that's exactly what's going on in that little will-be hand-in-hand aria where he's trying to seduce Zerlina away from her husband, but he gets thwarted, fortunately, for the sake of Mozart's opera. La ci darem la mano. We also heard a moment where Susanna is giving false promise to a count. It's a lot of people being tricked in Mozart's operas, of course, but this is husband and wife we just heard from, and there's no trickery there with Maria and Mauro Bonfanti. Maria Nan Bonfanti, who you heard as the soprano, is somebody who is a lyric soprano born in the People's Republic of China, a naturalized Italian citizen, and now living in Bellevue with the family. She's given recitals all over the world, in China, in Tokyo, Hamburg Opera, and more. National TV in many of those countries, recorded an album with the pianist who is Jose Carreras' accompanist, and has, along with her husband, founded this international opera competition near Milan. So, Mauro, I understand. Are you working on that opera competition as well with your wife? Is that something you both work on?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
It's,
so you're bringing people in from around?
Yeah,
Italy?
around the world. Every year, more than 100.
Oh my goodness.
From at least 15 countries.
Yeah.
United States too.
So even though you're living here now, are you going to be going back to Milan to do that every year?
Yeah, we try.
Okay. So
not easy, but...
Not easy, not a big commitment. And as somebody who has worked with a famous singer, you know how important it is to have mentorship. Luciano Pavarotti didn't take on a lot of students, but you had the great good fortune of being one of them.
Yeah.
Anybody listening right now is going to want to know, what was it like to study with him?
It's a great honor. And I start to listen opera with a disc of Luciano Pavarotti. So
I'm curious, which one?
It's a Christmas song.
I grew up with that.
Adeste Fidelis, for instance. And when I met Maestro, I say, Maestro, I grew up with your Adeste Fidelis, and him say, Adeste Fidelis in front of me.
Wow. It always made me laugh that he would say that he didn't have a big voice, he just had a pretty voice.
It is not true.
It's not true at all.
No,
It's huge.
absolutely, absolutely no. He's a lyric tenor, of course.
Right.
The beautiful voice, sparkling voice, the voice of the sun,
Yes.
and particularly the vocal technique. That's the very important thing. It's not important thing to scream.
Right.
It's important to sing in the right way, with the Italian style, bel canto style. The sound cover the sound, noble sound instead of white sound. That's all.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's much.
Well, no, but this is very much what you do, because YouTube has lots of videos of you in Italian addressing the physics of how to make a good vocal sound and answering some questions about what is the nature of the tenor voice versus the baritone voice. You also have one, I'm curious, because I don't speak Italian well enough to understand why you were saying don't sing like a certain famous Jonas Kaufmann. What was that about? Discouraging people to try to sing
Yes,
like him?
Jonas Kaufmann is a great tenor and a great artist, but we have to understand the artist and the vocal technique. So, for instance, Maria Callas was one of the greatest soprano, but the technique, only about the technique, I mean, not about the artistic one, or the attitude or something like that. So nowadays it's a strange thing, but I don't know if it takes too much time to explain. Anyway, the tenor tried to sing more like baritone.
Ah, yes.
They want to sing in the middle with the heavy voice. I don't know, you know. That's but like Corelli, but Corelli is only one in the past. So, and that's a great problem, because for the healthy of the voice, my job is to try to keep healthy.
Keep people singing for their whole career.
Exactly. Like, I don't know, 90 years old.
Ideally, that would be great.
Yes, like Lauri Volpi, for instance, one of the greatest tenors of the past. He sang at almost 90 La Donna Mobile from Rigoletto with the
which is not an easy, very high, yes.
No.
That's crazy. Okay, well, I hope that your work on the internet and what you do with helping people keep their vocal health pays off for other singers around the world.
Thank you.
When we come back in half a minute, we'll hear something from Donizetti, from Don Pasquale. Stay with us.
15 seconds.
Great.
Five.
It's Northwest Focus Live as we meet a family who has moved from Italy to Bellevue to make music with Seattle Chamber Orchestra. We'll be hearing more about their concerts. Pianist Lorenzo Marasso's creation is going to have a great next season with these singers involved in many aspects, song cycles and a big Stabat Mater project and more. Right now, I look at the knight in the middle of his heart where he was pierced. He bent his knee and said, I am your knight, your cavalier. It's a moment from Don Pasquale that we'll hear sung by Maria Nan Bonfanti with our pianist Lorenzo Marasso, this little moment of Donizetti live. With the requisite high notes from Don Pasquale of Gaetano Donizetti, that aria moment with Maria Nan Bonfanti and our pianist Lorenzo Marasso. They are giving us this husband and wife team of Maria Nan and Mauro Bonfanti a little taste of what to expect on the concert season of the Seattle Chamber Orchestra, which will be featuring their voices in song cycles as well as religious works for the next year. Seattle Chamber Orchestra's concert you can see at seattlechamberorchestra.org. But let's continue with something of a simple Italian song here by Gaetano Lama called It's the Silence That Sings, Silenzio Cantatore, Mauro Bonfanti, and once again pianist Lorenzo Marasso.
stanotte non dicere niente, cademe in braccio ma senza parlar. Dormene cose nu suona lucente, nu suona la notte d'esta. Maridinto silenzio, silenzio cantatore, non te dico parole d'amore, ma te dice stumare per me. Stanotte sei tutta da mia, l'occhio tuo è bello me dice sì. No, questa luna nisciona buscia, sta bocca bugiarda può dir. Maridinto silenzio, silenzio cantatore, non te dico parole d'amore, ma te dice stu cielo per me. Non te dico parole d'amore, ma te dice o silenzio per me. Zitta,
A song by Gaetano Lama, the singing silent Silenzio Cantatore with Mauro Bonfanti, who is going to switch gears with our pianist, Lorenzo Marasso here, and take us to the realm of German lieder, because this is the artist who will be singing in this upcoming season with Seattle Chamber Orchestra, directed by Lorenzo Marasso. He will be singing the Winter's Journey, the Vinta, of Franz Schubert, and we'll be getting one movement of that to finish the evening. But before the Schubert, we have Robert Schumann, a piece of music that he dedicated to the woman he was having a really hard time getting approval to marry, namely Clara Wieck. And this is a piece of music that when you hear it, you'll hear the longing in Robert Schumann to get the approval he never got from the father. He went ahead and married this brilliant pianist. And in the text by Friedrich Rückert of this dedication, you'll hear, "Your eyes transfigure me in mine. You raise me lovingly above myself, my guardian angel, my better self." We'll be hearing this from the husband and wife team. It's our soprano Maria Nan Bonfanti's turn to join Lorenzo at the piano once again for Schumann's Widmung, or dedication.
Oh,
When you hear somebody introduce their husband or their wife as my better half, that's the song for it. That is what Robert Schumann was writing musically using the text of Friedrich Rückert before he had a chance to claim Clara Wieck, the brilliant, talented pianist and composer, as his wife, calling her through the music with Rückert's text, my better self, my better half. And as we come to the end of this hour spent with the Bonfantis, I think it would be good time to have a good night. And Mauro, I'd just love to hear about this from you, because this is just one song of Franz Schubert that's kind of a warm-up for you with pianist Lorenzo before you do the entire Winterreise cycle of songs in the next season.
It's a great opportunity, and thank you, Lorenzo, because it's one of the greatest masterpieces of the Western music, probably.
Yes.
And it's very demanding.
Yes, it is. I think you have just enough rehearsal time between now and, is it February when you do it?
January.
January, yeah. Well, it's perfect in January. The name of the cycle is
Exactly.
The Winter's Journey, right? So I arrived a stranger I depart. That's nothing you'd want to hear having just moved to the United States.
Exactly. I hope
So
not.
You have to get in a very different mindset for this song. Is there anything you do? Schubert, it always seems to me, requires a separate kind of field of energy around you than other composers. How do you prepare sort of physically and spiritually to sing this music?
I really don't know at the moment because it's very difficult. If I have to think about it, probably I give up.
Yeah, good.
But it's a great masterpiece. It always touched me. And particularly I found in Schubert a lot of connection with the opera, for instance. The expression, some connection with Verdi, for instance, is not easy to understand. But
and especially because he's not known as an opera composer, right?
Exactly.
Schubert?
So it's very interesting.
A songster. Anything, Lorenzo, you'd like to add before we hear this Gute Nacht from the Winterreise?
Well, we thought it was a good ending the program with Good Night, and it's a more positive good night than what the song is actually about. But I really look forward to singing, to playing with Mauro the Winterreise.
You will be singing, because if you're not singing through the keyboard, you haven't captured Schubert,
exactly,
right?
Exactly. You got me there.
Yeah. Well, let's hear this, because we have just about 5 minutes left to enjoy the sound of Franz Schubert's Gute Nacht from The Winter's Journey from 1827, the Winterreise, which will be on the season of Seattle Chamber Orchestra. In fact, their whole season starts with Schubert, with the Trout Quintet, and on October 6th, and then you'll be hearing the singers we've met tonight in the Stabat Mater in November, and then again January 14th, the Winterreise, which contains this good night moment from Franz Schubert, Mauro Bonfanti baritone, Lorenzo Marasso the pianist live.
Fremd bin ich eingezogen, fremd zieh ich wieder aus. Der Mai war mit manchem Blumenstrauß. Das Mädchen sprach voll Liebe, die Mutter gar von ihm. Das Mädchen sprach voll Liebe, die Mutter gar von ihm. Nun ist die Welt so trübe, der Weg gehüllt die Schnee. Nun ist die Welt so trübe, der Weg gehüllt die Schnee. Ich kann zu meiner Reise nicht wählen mit der Zeit, muss selbst den Weg mir weisen in dieser Dunkelheit. Jetzt zieh ein Mondeschatten als mein Gefährte mit. Jetzt zieh ein Mondenschatten als mein Gefährte mit. Und auf dem weißen Matten such ich des Bildes Tritt. Und auf dem weißen Matten such ich des Bildes Tritt. Was soll ich länger weilen, dass man mich trieb hinaus? Lass ihre Wunder heilen von ihres Herres Haus. Die Liebe liebt das Wander, Gott hat sie so gemacht. Von einem zu dem ander, Gott hat sie so gemacht. Die Liebe liebt das Wander, von liebsche gute Nacht. Von einem zu dem ander, von liebsche gute Nacht. Will dich traurig stören, der Schatten deiner Ruh, sollst meinen Tritt nicht hören, sacht, sacht die Türe zu. Schreib ihm vorübergehen, als Tor dir gute Nacht, was mit du mögest sehen, was dich hab ich gedacht. Schreib ihm vorübergehen, ans Tor dir gute Nacht, was mit du mögest sehen, an dich hab ich gedacht, an dich hab ich gedacht.
It's the artist who doesn't want to disturb his love, and so instead of waking her, leaves a little note on the gate that says good night so that she can continue to sleep. You won't hear my footsteps. I won't disturb you as you dream. Just one of the many aspects of the song cycle called Winterreise by Franz Schubert, with the poetry of Wilhelm Müller, that makes a whole cycle called The Winter's Journey Winterreise that'll be performed by the very baritone we just heard, Mauro Bonfanti, on a season with Seattle Chamber Orchestra. Mauro the baritone and his soprano wife, Maria Nan, relocated to the Pacific Northwest from Italy in December, met Lorenzo Marasso, the pianist, who's been accompanying him all this evening back in January, and they've already done some recordings. And Mauro and Nan will be performing with Seattle Chamber Orchestra for the upcoming season, which begins in October with Schubert's Trout, on to Pergolesi's Stabat Mater, with Nan singing the soprano part, and then Mauro and Lorenzo will be performing the entirety of the Schubert we just heard sampled in that Gute Nacht movement in January. And then Mauro continues on in April with Bach's beautiful cantata, Ich habe genug. Hope you can check out their website, which is seattlechamberorchestra.org, to get the whole season and get some tickets there. Thank you, gentlemen and lady, for joining us for this beautiful hour of music. If you'd like to find out more, you can go to king.org, where you can find links to these upcoming performances, as well as videos we've made of Lorenzo and other guests in the past, on YouTube with a search for King FM, and on NPR's Live Sessions, Public Radio's national music video hub, which is at livesessions.npr. David Wall curates this show, inviting and scheduling our guests. Our videographer is Nikhil Sarma. Audio engineering tonight by Jason Frazier. And Northwest Focus Live's Yamaha S6X piano is provided and maintained by Classic Pianos in Bellevue. You can explore their full range of pianos at classicpianos.net. I'm Sean McLean, back with Sibelius in just a bit.